Welcome to the Black Duck Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Wilkins. I'm excited to have you join me as I speak with a fascinating collection of folks, all of whom have in common that they've made a way for themselves by finding an intersection between thoughtful consideration and the tactile work of getting their hands dirty. This is an examination of intention, capability, and craft. It's where philosophy meets the blue-collar work ethic and where I find real value. Hey folks, welcome to episode 2 of the Black Duck Revival Podcast. This week my guest will be Bradley Robinson of Chuds BBQ in Austin, Texas. Bradley is a barbecue pitmaster, he's a welder and metal fabricator, and he's a YouTube content creator with a fantastic channel called Chuds BBQ. I think that channel is demonstrable not just of Bradley's great wealth of knowledge involving the skills and methodologies of barbecue, but also it's demonstrable of the fact that Bradley is on or near the cutting edge of American barbecue today with his approach and kind of his chef's mind that he's bringing to it. I also really appreciate the fact that Bradley has built this multi-tiered approach to this discipline, and he's cooking in a way, in a style that's really physically demanding, and he's even carrying that idea of working with his hands to an even higher or more difficult level, let's say, by teaching himself to weld and to work with metal. And now he also has a thriving business where he's building and designing barbecue pits. I'm fascinated with all Southern cooking styles, barbecue being chief among those. And right now I'm kind of on a deep dive investigating the intersections of wild food and cooking with fire and cooking with smoke, and trying to figure out how I can contribute to that continuum, that food style. And being able to watch Bradley's videos and kind of cut my learning curve down on some of the finer points of barbecue as I really learn this skill set has been invaluable for me. I so appreciate Bradley's willingness to have this conversation with me. I had a great time. We recorded this interview some weeks back, and you'll hear us make mention of us waiting for the results to come out about a top 50 barbecue list that we had a suspicion about what the ranking of Leroy and Lewis was going to be, and that's a project that you'll hear more about in this interview that Bradley's had a lot to do with. But I'm happy to announce that they did achieve that supposed ranking, and it's kind of firmly placed Leroy and Lewis and Bradley in the lexicon of the best barbecue coming out of America today. So again, this is Bradley Robinson of Chuds BBQ. I think you're going to enjoy this interview. Thanks very much. All right, so today I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm on my way back from a hunt with Jesse Griffiths and the New School of Traditional Cookery. But since I was coming through Austin, I wanted to stop and chat with a newish friend that I made recently, I guess this summer. This gentleman, Bradley Robinson of Chuds BBQ. Him and his buddy, Evan Leroy, came up from Austin, did a catfishing trip. I think July. They were great. They're exactly the kind of people I like having up there. And I'm actually glad it went down the way it did. I'd been communicating with Evan before they came up, and he had sent me some links to some YouTube stuff that they were doing and mentions of the restaurant Leroy and Lewis. And just frankly, it's not that I wasn't interested. I was just kind of consumed with my own stuff and busy. And it was just one of those deals where I felt like I was scrambling to get up to the lodge when we were going to do that trip a little more than I'd like to normally. And then I just started hanging out with them, and they were super fun and really smart. And I quickly figured out that they were up to stuff that I should probably delve into a little bit myself. So as I did that about midway through the trip, I was really stoked that I hadn't looked into it beforehand, because I probably would have been nervous. Anyway, Bradley Robinson, as I said before, of Chuds BBQ. He's a pit master here in Austin, Texas. Last couple years I've been going down a barbecue rabbit hole, very much focused on kind of traditional black barbecue, direct cooking, like cinder block pits and whole hog stuff. And I really wasn't too keyed into the whole idea of Texas barbecue and what was going on down here as far as the traditions of, offset smokers and not a lack of seasoning, but a simple seasoning, like salt and pepper, in this barbecue culture that's so finely enmeshed in the culture and the fabric of Texas. But anyway, I found myself, starting a few days after this initial trip, sitting on my exercise bike in the mornings and watching these Chuds barbecue videos, and quickly became obsessed and super impressed by everything this guy's doing. And I'm really glad, even after that long introduction, really glad to be here. So, Brad, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for having me on the podcast. And as you were mentioning, that fishing trip we went on a couple months back was a whole lot of fun. And I kind of appreciate your approach too, to going into it. Again, I didn't do any research into what you were doing, and like just having that real honest meeting and like discovering what each other are doing, I think was really valuable and a lot of fun. And also that catfish came out great. I'm sure you saw the videos.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. And then I guess you guys were, so we've established you're a barbecue guy down here in Texas, and that we first met when you came up and I guided you and Evan Leroy on a trip going after catfish. But maybe just explain kind of why you were catching catfish in the first place, and that'll, I think, pretty naturally lead into how you got to Texas and what you're doing professionally and your brand and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I've been down in Texas for almost 10 years now, and I came from New Hampshire. That's where I was just up visiting the last week or so. And when I got to Texas, I kind of caught the barbecue bug. And that was finding this whole cuisine that I didn't know much about, because it's really not prevalent in the Northeast. And after trying it, I really was curious like how to cook it, and I started talking to all the different pitmasters in town and all that stuff. And long story short, that led me to a job with Evan Leroy, who we went fishing with. And Evan and I, over the last few years at Leroy and Lewis, have been trying to just take a different approach to barbecue and just trying to get a whole view on the cooking process. We're starting to look into, hunting and fishing, and locally sourced meats and stuff is a big aspect of Leroy and Lewis. So that got us into the mindset of fishing. And every year for the last, 2 years, we've been doing this catfish competition at Leroy and Lewis, which is kind of a internal competition just for team morale and just to do something a little different than cooking the same barbecue all the time. Where we have a catfish competition cook-off where every team member brings a different dish, a different style, and whoever is deemed the winner will then go on to do a pop-up at the truck. And like I said, this was year number 2, so we wanted to do something a little bit different, and with the whole ethos of Leroy and Lewis in mind, why not catch the catfish ourselves? And that's what led us to you. Evan heard about you through Jesse, and that's how he linked all this up. And then we go up to Arkansas, caught some beautiful catfish, brought them back, and it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, man, it really was. I'm not trying to blow smoke up each other's ass, but it was super fun. I was really intrigued just by not just your kind of passion and your involvement in this specific kind of cuisine, but with both of you guys, you have a lot of business acumen, and as a person who's developing a business and trying to grow a business to sustain me and my family, I just appreciate people that are going about things in a slightly non-traditional way and finding their own niche and then finding real success with it. And so anyway, let's just kind of roll back a little bit, because I think it's pretty interesting how you got into this space. And I've just seen through some of your videos that I consume on YouTube that, you came down here, like me years ago. You're heavily involved in music and making music and music production. And that's kind of where you initially saw your life going. And I imagine that's part of the reason you came to Austin. And yeah, then you disseminated into this decidedly different path. Although maybe not that different. I mean, the whole reason I'm involved in food is because I played music, and working manual labor jobs and working in kitchens kind of go hand in hand with musicianship. But anyway, man, so tell me a little bit about that. So, you're coming from, and like we said before, you're coming from New Hampshire, which, truthfully, you might be the only person from New Hampshire I've ever met. It's a place I know exists, but I know Zanzibar exists too. I don't have negative connotations of New Hampshire. I probably just think of like fall, like beautiful colors and like fall leaves and I don't know, white people wearing sweaters. Probably
flannels mostly.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, shows I know.
Yeah, all those small states kind of blend together. That's why it's New England as a whole. You know what I mean? But yeah. So yeah, I grew up in New Hampshire and went to college in Maine. I went to school for audio engineering. So that's what brought me after school. I was looking for a scene better than small town northern Maine to try and build a music career, and the live music capital of the world, Austin, Texas, seemed like the right place to be because, again, New England is not known for much of a social scene unless you're in the city like Boston or maybe up in Burlington. So after that, I was really looking to get somewhere warm, just a change of pace. So that's what brought me to Texas, and I knew nothing about Austin or Texas in general, just moving down here, which is why I was kind of like blown away by like the culture shock of it when I found like all these new cuisines, like the Tex-Mex and the Mexican influence down here that doesn't make much reach up to New Hampshire. You know what I mean? And then same with the barbecue. That was something.
I never, when I left, and sorry to interrupt you, but when I left St. Louis 20 years ago, there either wasn't or I just was not aware of a large Latino presence or contingency. And like I was 20 years old, I think, before I ever had an avocado.
Yeah.
Like I was probably in high school before I ever heard of one. Mm-hmm. And it is such a weird thing to where everyone assumes that what's normalized for them is like that for everyone else and stuff. I think much less so now because we're dealing with such kind of like a global society, but yeah, just the idea that like Tex-Mex is this provocative cuisine for somebody.
Right. Well, like I talked about it in one of my videos where when I came down here, it was within the first 3 days I had my first fresh flour tortilla. Before that, a tortilla was like a sandwich wrapped from, Subway or something like that.
Yeah, like a Mission tortilla in a Ziploc bag.
I was like, I'd never once longed for a tortilla until I had a fresh, fluffy, warm one. I was like, oh my God, this is actually really good. You know what I mean? And just like all of those realizations is kind of what helped me really get into cooking because especially, how I grew up, it was a lot of just home-cooked meals and very just kind of boilerplate standard stuff. And so once I was, and like you're saying too, it's because I was, 20 years old. I also wasn't really seeking anything out.
Sure.
It was just like whatever was handed to me. And so once I actually had my eyes open to all this different stuff, it took me by surprise because I never really thought I'd end up in the culinary world at all.
Okay, so you get down here to Austin, and how do you end up working in a restaurant, and how do you end up at Leroy and Lewis?
So I first moved down here, and I did get a job in the music scene. It wasn't anything too fancy. I was just working with a local guy who did a lot of freelance work, so I'd help him do a whole bunch of random gigging around, whether it's setting up speakers for a high school prom or, doing DJing for a Little League game or like karaoke. Like it was completely random what we were doing. It was a lot of fun because it wasn't monotonous, but at the same time it was very inconsistent. So then I started thinking about like, what can I do? I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. You know what I mean? I expected to be in a band or like land a job at a recording studio and take that path, and I just was struggling to find that because I'm new to the city and I just wasn't in the know. And to be honest, I really wasn't trying that hard because I think that passion was starting to fade. And while that passion was fading, the whole cooking in the backyard thing started picking up because, like I was mentioning, I started eating the local barbecue and it was so intriguing. Because I was talking to people, the pit masters at these places, and they're like, yeah, it's just an old propane tank that I welded into a smoker, took this cheap big cut of meat, threw some salt and pepper on it, and it's like this mind-blowing end result. So I started cooking in the backyard.
Man, let's interject here real quick. Real fast, give your elevator pitch on what Texas barbecue is.
Texas barbecue, I mean, I pretty much nailed it. What I loved about it was the simplicity of it, right? It wasn't a bunch of injections and fancy rubs and all these little tips and tricks. It was just bare bone, just kind of like caveman style almost, right? It's like meat, fire, simple seasoning, and it's just through the process of that, like maintaining a proper fire and low and slow cooking, the end result far outweighs what went into it. And that's something that really spoke to me, because it wasn't like this fancy technique or this fancy knife or this, ridiculous cut from like a Wagyu cow or something. You take the worst cut, and just by caring for it and putting in the effort and the time, you can get something that I'd never experienced before. Because I never had brisket before I moved to Texas.
Yeah, brisket is. I think that's probably what most people would think of when they first think of Texas barbecue. They're thinking that specific cut.
That's the poster boy.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the worst cut of meat, I mean, what you're really saying is like something that does not respond to quick cooking. Something that's basically something that's full of. In the hunting world, we talk about silver skin, but, basically like fascia, fibrotic tissue, stuff that's tough and chewy and kind of stringy. And what it's really going to require is 180 to 190 degrees. We're talking internal temperature of meat at for a sustained length of time, usually at least a few hours, which is going to transform that fibrotic tissue into that, silky kind of just delicious mouth coat. To me, it's like just what I think about when you envision a pot roast.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's going to do that is, sufficient heat and a long sustained cooking process. But anyway, so you feel like you're kind of equally pulled with, or you're drawn initially because this stuff tastes really good, but then the ethos behind it and kind of the physicality in it and the investment of time is something that you're finding resonant for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just cooking with fire was something that I never saw growing up. Growing up in the 90s, it was like, Hungry Man dinners or Lunchables if you're a kid. Like everything was like the 90s was a terrible time for food, especially if you were a kid.
The chicken breast.
Yeah, the chicken, like fat was evil. Mm-hmm. And it's like what you were just saying. For me, growing up, beef was burgers or steak. A steak is, everything was really lean. It was before like prime grade and Wagyu stuff was really popular. And it was just like medium rare, steak on a plate, done. And then I come down here and I find this really fatty cut that's full of the connective tissue that then they break down slowly, and it takes on that gelatinous feel to it. It was like meat jello, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's something I'd never experienced. And to find out that it's like a trash piece of meat cooked on an old propane tank that someone was probably just trying to get rid of, just with a wood fire. I'm like, something about that just like really clicked.
Man, so I'll be totally honest with you, man. It's if anybody goes, and they should, Chuds BBQ on YouTube. Brad does a really fantastic job creating content. He's producing this all himself and editing it. His personality very much shines through, and it makes it fun and very approachable. But truthfully, man, there's lots of people that are making food that tastes good, and there's lots of people. Now, I didn't realize how many people were in this barbecue scene. And, I'm trying to think. There's that meat scientist guy, and mm-hmm. People that are getting 100,000 views in 24 hours. Like, this is heavily consumed content, and all of those people are making really delicious stuff. What I think really attracted me to what you're doing is that combination, or that intersection of intentional food preparation and this kind of down and dirty blue collar manufacturing side. Like, I'm a guy that likes to work with his hands, and I like to be outside, and I like to feel like I'm exerting physical force in some of my activities. And yeah, you're talking about these big, heavy vessels, like, and let's take a minute there because I think you'd be surprised. You're so immersed in this world. Like, I bet you a lot of people have no idea what an offset smoker is. So maybe let's describe that a little bit, and then that'll be a great segue into all the building and manufacturing that you're doing.
Yeah, an offset smoker, it's the traditional Texas cooker. It's basically that the fire is, instead of being directly under the meat, it's off to the side. It's got a horizontal airflow to it. And it works really well because you can cook with full logs, and you're cooking with the heat from the coal bed, from the logs, and also you get all that smoke running across the meat. So it's a convective cooker, which helps you really build up a good bark as well as speeding up the cooking process. And you don't get that blast like that Maillard that you get from grilling or direct heat, but you get all that smoke flowing across, and it kind of builds up its own bark and its own flavor. And that, especially for something like a brisket that's going to be cooking for 12, 15 hours, you don't want to over smoke it, which is why an offset works really well. If you were to do that on a direct heat pit, which it's doable, I've done it, but you're a lot more likely to dry it out or have it come out hard or crunchy, as opposed to something like an offset, which is more gentle. And it's, again, like you were saying, with all the connective tissue that needs to break down low and slow, it's a pretty gentle way of cooking a piece of meat for that long without, just blasting the hell out of it and ending up with leather.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Maillard effect, which, if folks aren't familiar with that's what's happening when you're kind of getting these roasty caramelization notes. So it's what that whole, like, do you remember those commercials from the 90s about the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup? Mm-hmm. And some kid from college coming home at Christmas morning at 4 a.m. and he makes coffee to wake everybody up, and folks smell that roasty, just kind of evocative smell and taste is what we're talking about, the Maillard effect. It's what's happened when you sear a steak off. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that when you braise, if you're braising meat, and most braising recipes are going to call for you to sear the meat off first and then stick it in the pan. Like, the searing isn't doing anything really effectively of the cooking process. What it's doing is it's creating those flavor notes that are then going to intensify over that long, slow cooking period. But so anyway, that's what an offset smoker is. It looks like, and just to describe it, if you took a soda can and turned it sideways, so it was like horizontal, and then you had a half of a soda, or I guess effectively like a third of a soda can, stuck up against the ass end of that can, drop down halfway. That's kind of what it looks like. But so you're involved in this. You start talking to these pit masters, and you're doing a whole lot of backyard home barbecue and getting your skills up and feeling like, I'm sure you're having your friends and family over, and folks are saying, hey man, this stuff is pretty good, man. You should do something with this.
Yeah. My story is like the classic story of most people who are in the barbecue industry today, where I had that one bite that kind of changed my life, that I was like, oh, now I want to do this. And then I started cooking it, and I was like, hey, this is good. You should do this professionally. So then I said, okay, so I'll give it a shot. And that's where I met Evan Leroy. So I hopped on Craigslist back in 2014, 2015, and I saw Friedman's was hiring. That's where he was working at the time. So I went up there and I met him. He hired me on, and I was there for about 2 years, year and a half, before he opened up Leroy and Lewis. So then after that, I went over there, and I've been there for the last 4 years or so. And it's been a lot of fun. Evan's just got this very unique perspective on barbecue because he's kind of got a chef-driven background. So instead of just trying to do the staples, he's really trying to explore what barbecue can be as a cuisine, as opposed to just like an item. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Instead of just like the traditional brisket, ribs, and sausage, which is great, but there's 100 people doing that just in Austin. He's trying to explore what else it could be, and that really fit with my whole mentality too, of just trying to not blend in with the pack, just trying to have my own voice and be a little bit different and stand out. And yeah, we've had a great time working together for the last 4 years. But when he opened that place up, he needed a smoker to build Leroy and Lewis with, and he, with the same mentality, he said, I don't want to just buy a commercially made one or, one that everyone else has. So he bought himself a welder and a propane tank on Craigslist and just started kind of chipping away at it for a few years. And that's where, and along that time, I was also in the market for a backyard smoker. And again, I'm like, I don't want to spend, $300 on one from Home Depot that's going to rust out. So I said, hey, can I borrow your welder? And I too bought a propane tank. And that's when I built that one in the backyard after watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to weld. And that's kind of what got me into the welding scene. And that's also where Evan got that big 500-gallon pit that they're cooking on down at Leroy and Lewis.
Yeah, basically we drove into Austin on Thursday, and my wife and I, and we went straight to Leroy and Lewis. We've got a good friend, Carly, from Little Rock, and she's down here in Austin now, so she met us over there. And Evan was cool and came over and said, hey, brought his little girl, super cute. And then he just hooked it up and said, give him everything on the menu, man. And I was like, I don't want to act like this, but this is what I've been hoping is going to happen for weeks and weeks.
It's good to know people.
Oh man, dude. And asked for a tour of the trailer where the smokers are at, and you've got a big chud pit in there. And because I watch your videos, there's all these little chud touches on stuff, and I'm like, that's a chud thing. That's a chud thing. But that was super cool to see too. And I'll tell you what I love about that pit that they're doing everything on over there, and this first pit that you built in your backyard and it's the first thing that Evan said to me, man, is that the welds are splattery. You can tell it's somebody who was learning and hasn't honed it yet. Mm-hmm. Because, with welds, people talk about, you want to look like a stack of dimes or whatever. But
there's no dimes on either Evan's first pit or my first pit.
But what's great? It doesn't need to.
Yeah,
and it's
works.
Completely functional. It looks cool as shit. 9 out of 10 people would see that thing and say, man, that is this rad, kind of rusty, patinaed, steampunk looking, looks like a big giant engine or something, And the fact that some of those pieces aren't perfect and that it still produces amazing, amazing food. This won't come. I guess tomorrow is when that top 50 list from the Austin Chronicle comes out. Mm-hmm. And strong suspicions that Leroy and Lewis is going to place very highly on that. And it's, talking to Evan, it's probably going to be transformative for the business.
Yeah.
The fact that this very simple vessel is the vessel, for this creative force, and a place where thought and friendship and technique and all these things and creativity are kind of just all mashing up together. I mean, when we were over there, we ate, obviously, Leroy and Lewis is known for these confit beef cheeks. Mm-hmm. They're phenomenal. Man, I think one of my favorite things was the lamb sausage, especially since I'm so heavily involved in wild game. There was just that slight little bit of, it wasn't gamey, but just that funk in a good way, like George Clinton funk, that lets you know that this is not some homogenized product. This was a sentient live creature, and there's, the terroir of whatever they were eating is involved in it. It might seem simple, man, but that's probably top 4 or 5 burgers I've ever eaten in my life. And that pork and rice hash, man. I'm a rice and gravy kind of guy, and that stuff was phenomenal. And then that barbecado, man. And I would not have thought that I would respond like that, but man, it was so damn good. And then the kimchi, I mean, everything on it was so good. But anyway, let's talk more about Chud stuff. So you build this reputation and this, you become a professional barbecue person. You become a pit master, I guess. And then, as you told me when you're up fishing, I guess about a year and a half ago or so, you kind of leaned into this content creation. Basically, you're making short, 14-minute. I mean, they're it's little TV shows, basically. Not little. I mean, they're TV shows just on YouTube, I guess, which is the way we consume TV now. And they come out weekly and super well done and super informative. And I'm there hasn't been a single episode of it that I've watched that I haven't learned something. And try to figure out how to do it and put enough of a spin on it that then it can be mine, you know, but which is, I mean, that's how music and cooking and all that stuff goes, you know, like we talked about when you guys were up there, like you can't patent a recipe, but you've got a few very distinctive things very quickly that are very much associated with you. Like this foil boat technique I'm blown away with how many people are posting about this foil boat brisket technique you've developed. So yeah, man, just tell me about, so you got two aspects of Chuds BBQ. You have this video side of it, and then you have the manufacturing side. So I'll stop talking so much, man, and just like tell me about like what you do and what's bringing you joy and where you see it all going.
Yeah, the whole content side of things was me just trying to look ahead. You know, I could see the big rise in barbecue, not just in Texas, but Austin specifically, but also across the country. Like everyone's getting into it, and
North Carolina's gotten real big with it.
Yeah,
Rodney Scott.
Yeah, the whole hog is blowing up, brisket's blowing up, and I consume most of my, like you were just saying, I consume most of my content on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I don't have cable TV anymore. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
And I watch a lot of cooking shows. That's how I really like learned how to cook, and how I've learned a lot of things along the way is watching other people do these cooking shows. And it's something I always wanted to do. And I kind of realized a couple of years back that there wasn't really anyone with my style of cooking, like the Central Texas style of cooking, that's got a consistent show going. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was a big hole that needed to be filled. And it just seemed like right time, right place. And because, I'm working with Evan, and I'm, kind of on that new school vibe of not just hammering in the tradition, but also kind of innovating with new stuff like the barbicado and doing different sausage making and stuff like that. It just seemed like a no-brainer to try and put that out to the world.
Is the barbicado yours?
I was definitely involved. I mean, a lot of the things on those menus are things that like Evan and I will talk about after a few beers. Like the barbicado, I remember we were out at a bar. We're just talking about new menu ideas. And I said, let's do avocado toast. We're in Austin. Let's just lean into the hipster vibe, just kind of bullshitting a little bit. And then that night for dinner, like before this conversation, my girlfriend made stuffed avocados with shrimp. And I'm like, let's do a stuffed avocado with barbacoa and call it the barbicado. And that was just like a one-off line. And then the night went on. And then, of course, come Monday, I go in and Evan's got the barbicado on the menu. I'm like, oh, you took that seriously? And then he, like, perfected it with all the garnishes and, like, scoring it and just, like, made a full dish out of it. I was just like, wow, that's amazing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of examples of that. Like the Thanksgiving split is another one that we do every Thanksgiving. One time, Evan and I were at an event, and we had, like, an hour or two to kill. So we're just kind of shooting ideas back and forth. I'm like, what can we do that's like a banana split with a sausage? And he's like, well, Thanksgiving is coming up. Let's just throw some mashed potatoes and like all these different sides in there and split the sausage down the middle. And I'm like, yeah, that's funny. And again, I thought that was just like a bored conversation. But then come in the next day and Evan's got it made. It's on the menu. Bestseller. But I mean, that's kind of the beauty of doing what we're doing there too, is the fact that it's not traditional. Is like we've got all these, there's no bounds, you know what I mean? As long as we're cooking the Texas style way, like kind of paying respect to where it came from, we can really kind of just try and push the envelope to be a little bit different than the guy down the street. And it's a lot of fun, to be honest, just to, instead of, because at Friedman's where we were before, we were pretty much brisket, ribs, and sausage all the time. And for 2 years, I'm cooking the same thing every day, and it just gets monotonous. And that's another reason why I started leaning into the content creation side of things, is because I was starting to burn out. You know, working barbecue is pretty tough. You know, like some mornings you're up at 5 in the morning, like your day starts at 5 and ends at 5, and then other days I would work from like 8 till like midnight, and like just working with fire, smoke in the eyes. It's after 5-10 years of it, it gets pretty old. So I was thinking to myself one day, I'm like, you know, I don't want to be flipping burgers, even though it's a really great burger, as you mentioned. I don't want to be doing this for the next 20 years. So how can I use my skills in another way to bring something useful to the world where I'm not, you know, smelling like smoke all the time? And that's so, with all that put together, that's where the YouTube channel kind of came from. So I dove in, bought a camera, learned how to use it, and just Yeah, like you were saying, consistency is really the name of the game for YouTube. It's like it's because it's a TV show. You have to put out an episode every week, sometimes twice a week, and just it's a whole nother grind. But at least I'm in my home, not sweating all the time nowadays.
Man, so, and I think I said Ronnie Scott was North Carolina. Is he South Carolina?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think.
I haven't been to Ronnie Scott, to be honest. I've had him at festivals, but I haven't spent much time in the Carolinas. We're heading out there in a couple of weeks, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are you doing out there?
We're going to Charleston for a barbecue fest.
Oh, cool, man.
Should be a lot of fun.
Charleston is like, I guess Texas is the South. I mean, Texas is almost like its own thing. Arkansas is definitely the South. Part of Arkansas is definitely the deep South. But, like, Charleston is really, and this is a weird kind of aside, but the South, we're talking about like the founding of the South with European colonization. It was really an attempt to recreate a European aristocracy. Mm-hmm. And Charleston is like one of the seats of that. It's like this old aristocratic culture. I mean, amazing food, and there's the relationship with the ocean and all that stuff. But it's I don't know. I guess kind of when I think of Charleston, I think of like people riding in wagons, like with beautiful white horses, and like I almost think of like an Interview with a Vampire, like people wearing like white shirts with frills on them and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, you're doing this really awesome show on YouTube that's grown substantially. Like I really do, man. Like it's probably one of the things I've watched the most in the last few months, and like enough that I've seen it go from. I think when I started watching it, you had like 60,000 subscribers, and now you're all the way up to 80,000. And it's also too. I watch it. I watch how quick the views get put on it. It's like pretty consistent, man. Like give it 48 hours, and you get 20,000 views, which is. I'm just kind of peripherally getting involved in. Like media and like having people film me or whatever. And I know how difficult that is and how hard that is to maintain. But then on the other side of it, you've got, and it makes so much sense too, because I'm sure that obviously that YouTube show is going to fuel people wanting to consume more from you. And you're building these really, really amazing, beautiful kind of pieces of like functional industrial folk art in these pits. And so you've got several different models. You've got kind of the more traditional offset smokers. You have these direct pits, these Chud pits, which I've even dug around enough to see like other barbecue people like taking ideas from you, like building things that look you can see like the doors on it are Chud-esque, or that V-shape holder you've got in your firebox, which makes a lot of sense. So, like, yeah, tell me about that too.
Yeah, the welding side, it kind of took off from underneath me. Well, like I mentioned, I just wanted a smoker for the backyard, so I borrowed Evan's welder and I built one. And then you build one, someone sees it, like my buddy Matt. He's like, "Oh, I want one of those." I'm like, "All right, I'll build you one." And then it just kind of kept snowballing from there until I did a podcast with the guys from Tales from the Pits. They came over, we sat right here, and we talked about the smoker building stuff. And from there, all of a sudden there's 30 pits on order. And it's like it kept growing pretty naturally from there. And then once I started the YouTube channel, my first video was me showing how I build smokers. And from there, it just kind of took off. And yeah, we've got 5 different types. I mean, 2 main styles. We've got the offset smoker, which we have 2 sizes of, both backyard sized. One's a little bigger than the other. And then we've got the direct heat pits, the Chud boxes. And those are what I like, because my offsets, like you said, there's a few tweaks to it that make it my own, like the fact that I put a charcoal grill on top of the firebox.
I love that, dude.
Multifunction. That's what it's all about.
And hey, we've talked about it. Next week I'm going to North Carolina to my buddy's welding shop, and I'm going to have my own offset smoker, and I will credit you fully, man, but I'm trying to do that same thing.
Do it. I highly recommend it. And that's the thing. It's like, I mean, in this industry, both of what I'm doing, whether it's video making or the food that I'm cooking or the pits that I'm building, like people are gonna mimic it, And that's something that a long time ago I made a stance. Like, I'm never going to be a dick about that on the internet, but you see it a lot, and it's like you're saying, as long as you give credit where credit's due, that's A-okay. But, like, the fact is there's people in different states that are building identical things and selling them. And
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just be cool, man. Just be cool.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, it's like that whole idea that imitation is the greatest form of flattery is there's a lot of truth to it, and it's also bullshit.
Right.
Like there's also just ripping somebody off,
Right.
And especially when someone's like you're making your living doing this now,
Right.
But there is something really cool about it when you can take a step back and realize that like what you're doing is you're influencing the zeitgeist. You're informing the tapestry of this cuisine that you fell in love with, man, and that is super cool. It doesn't mean that you want people ripping you off and messing up your bottom line necessarily, but man, that's people are when people are kind of chasing fame and attention, what they're really pursuing is influence, like this mix of influence and respect and consideration from other people.
Yeah.
And while I have a lot of feelings about folks that I think I kind of like to try and stay understated and maybe even enigmatic a little bit. And some of that's just a protection mechanism. But some of it too is that you get a little too hubristic when you're constantly saying, look at me.
Right.
But I think what they're doing is it's kind of a perversion of that idea of like having something important enough to add to the zeitgeist for people to want to look at you,
Right.
So anyway, that's a long way of saying that imitation is a best form of flattery.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head too with like the whole eyes on you thing. It's a weird place to be, but at the end of the day, it's like the bottom line here is like that's why I don't get mad at these people. Like the only time it's ever really come up is when people that are fans of me start harassing other people.
Oh, really?
Like I've never reached out to anyone. Like I have videos showing you how to build what I build.
Sure.
Right? If I did that and didn't expect people to build it, then I'm a fool. But then again, there's other people like, you're ripping him off. And like these welders, if we tell me, like, hey, man, I'm sorry if I offended you. Will you call off the army? I'm just no, man, it's not my fault. So I'm like, hey, that's why I have the hashtag Chudspiration. I'll just throw that on there and let it go. Because at the end of the day, like I'm just trying to help people, right? Like these are tutorials. This is like, that's what I love about YouTube. It's entertaining. It's entertainment meets learning. Which is like whether it's a recipe, whether it's sausage making, whether it's welding, or just showing you, because I'm a cook first, I'm a welder second. And so the pits I build are out of what like flaws I see in what I've already cooked on. So of course I want people to build that. And I want people to have that. And, like you're saying, have a new voice and a new product and be part of the zeitgeist and try and progress.
Yeah. No, man, I think you got a great attitude about it. I might try and repurpose some of that attitude for some of my own projects, and the zeitgeist information will continue. Man, so I'll tell you what. I guess this podcast is so like the original copy I wrote was something about basically me talking to people, and this is weird too for me, but I guess now I'm kind of in the hunting industry, and people know me as like a guide of sorts, and waterfowl and fish and whatever else. But like the whole idea of this podcast is really supposed to be like talking to interesting people that have found a way to formulate their own intersection of like thoughtful consideration and just tactile work, like getting your hands dirty, which is obviously what's so resonant about what you're doing. To me, and I've completely lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was talking about at all. Or maybe, let me ask you this, because maybe that's not what I was originally saying, but this is what I'm thinking about now. Why is it important to you? I mean, because like you're saying, you're a cook, and you're working with really well-respected, you become a well-respected and working with well-respected people that lots of people are looking at, kind of more classically trained folks. I'm sure you're interacting with them all the time. And even though you're saying you're a cook first and you're a welder second, you have absolutely made something that that blue collar kind of aesthetic and intention is wrapped up in. And so, like, what do you find meaningful about that? What resonates with that specific intersection for you?
For me, I mean, it kind of brings us back to the whole how we both started out as musicians thing, right? Like, I've always been one to follow my passion. I've got this horrible or wonderful habit of turning my hobbies into careers or into my main focus. You know, like from a very young age, it was obvious that I wasn't going to be, you know, pushing pencils for a living. But for me, it's all about, following the passion through, because like that's what makes me happy. And also, I want to feel rewarded at the end of the day. Like when I bartended and was in the service industry while I was here, and I felt just so empty. Like I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. Like handing someone a beer really just doesn't do it for me. Mm-hmm. But something like building that smoker out in the garage that I like sweat and bled and pour my life into, like something that I designed and brought to fruition and then marketed and sold. Like there's something so rewarding about that. Or any other aspect of like the barbecue scene, like learning how to butcher a pig or how to make sausage, and like going through that entire sausage making process or butchery process or welding process, and having something at the end where you can say, like, I put my personality into that, I put my stamp on that, I put my education on that. And even though it's just a link of sausage or a simple box cooker or chimney starter or whatever, I feel like that's something valuable to me, because that's something that I really worked hard on, rather than just trying to get by. It's like thrive instead of survive.
Yeah. Man, I remember what I was trying to say and I got off kilter, but this is a good segue into it. So the whole reason I reference like me being in this hunting community is you and Evan both have expressed and have started to kind of enter this interest level with, an even more kind of hands-on expenditure and sourcing of your food, right? And so that's like what the catfish thing was. And I saw you guys on Instagram. You guys have gone dove hunting, and you're down here in this place where there's all manner of ways to hunt and things to go after. And we've talked too about kind of your brand developing more content, working with wild game, and your self-procurement of protein. So what's attractive about that to you, and where do you see that going?
I mean, like you said, it's a perfect segue, because me finding fulfillment in, cooking a pork chop that I butchered out of a pig, cooked on a pit that I built, is something that, a lot of people don't get to experience. And it kind of, I'm sure you feel the same way when you're cooking like that ramen you made for us up in Arkansas, where like that's a bird that you went out and you got and you harvested and brought down and put your own spin, your own dish on. Like there's something so much more meaningful about that meal than anything I could get, from a local restaurant or something like that. And that's kind of like the next thing, it's like I started out like, I want to learn how to cook brisket or ribs or such. I want to learn how to cook barbecue. And it's like, okay, I learned how to do that. What's next? Okay, I want to learn how to build the smokers that I'm cooking on. And then I want to, learn about local sourcing, like get these pigs from Loncito and all these stuff that we're doing at Leroy and Lewis, and like hunting. And what you're doing is kind of the next logical step in that chain, right? Is just trying to be in touch with what you're cooking instead of just opening a cardboard box or like a, cryovac. It's like understanding the entire process of a meal, I think, is kind of the dragon we're chasing, whether it's, the cooker, the wood, where the meat's coming from. And also it's just, like I said, it's just, there's something so rewarding about it.
Yeah, man, you know what I'm actually excited about as you kind of start going down those rabbit holes and pursuing that more is, so like in the hunting world and the hunting community and industry right now, there's a lot of talk about, and I'm absolutely part of it, of bringing new people into the activities and, folks from quote unquote non-traditional backgrounds. And what they mean by that is folks that aren't white men. Mm-hmm. But, and what the aspect that folks lean into a lot is like source your own foods. They say source your own organic protein, which we could talk all day long about how most of these wild animals would not actually qualify as organic because the proliferation of GMO agriculture. Like most wild ducks you shoot are going to have eaten some GMO corn or rice or something. Same with any big game that's in an agricultural area like white-tailed deer or something. And I love that aspect of it, and I think it's super cool and noble, and it's a way to get really great quality stuff. But kind of what I'm even more excited for you to experience is, for lack of a better term, I mean, we're talking about killing critters. You know, I mean, there's part of it that's what we're talking about. And I say this. Maybe this is becoming something I say a lot, like snuffing out sentience. Mm-hmm. And there's that should have an effect on you, unless you're a psychopath,
right?
You know, and you know, the first time or initially the first few years or whatever, it's going to have a different effect on you than it has 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line. But it should always be impactful, and it's for me, it's not just about sourcing like good quality meat. It's kind of taking ownership over the fact that I'm participating in a violent act. If I'm eating these things, I'm participating in a violent act, whether I do that directly or not.
Right.
You know, and it's not even just about being more honest to do it yourself. I really do think that, like that very viscerally and, you know, kind of spiritually or something, it has a different impact and a different effect on you. And man, it is hard. It is hard to waste that stuff.
Right.
You know, I really try and make a point of, like, we're going to eat all of it. And it doesn't have to be precious and particular and making food that's, you know, fit for Instagram. Like, I've got zero problem eating hamburger helper with ground venison. I've eaten tons of it. Mm-hmm. I think potatoes stroganoff hamburger helper is some of the greatest stuff out there. But just being involved in that process, you're living a more honest life. And right. I think it has really stupendous ripple effects in different aspects of your life too. Plus, man, it's gonna be a whole nother challenge.
Right.
Because a lot of these methods that you're using on stuff that has a lot of fat and intramuscular, you know, kind of lubrication, you're not going to have that on wild game.
Right.
And you're going to, I mean, as great as you are, you're going to have to get so much better, man. Like, you're going to look back, I think, in a couple of years, and you're going to have lapped people that you're looking up to right now even. I'm super excited for you, man, because it's something that has been it's been transformative in my life, you know.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to it too, because like you were just saying, like the amount of emotion it takes for me to go buy a ribeye steak at the grocery store and come back and just like cook it, like there's nothing there. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, and especially for someone like me who makes a living cooking meat, mm-hmm. Almost exclusively. Like, I feel like if I didn't have some sort of ethics behind it, and I try to source locally when I can, you know, like when we go to, most of the pork I eat is from Loncito,
which is where, I mean, this guy got a pork operation on a ranch that me and my wife were just hunting at.
Yeah, we went down there too. We did a whole tour of the farm, and it's like just that aspect of like trying to stay away from commodity, and because I mean, I don't take it lightly, the fact that every one of the 100 videos I've put out is a life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they all those animals had eyelashes.
Yeah,
you know?
It's crazy. So it's kind of another just way to pay respect and not look like an asshole, really. Like if I would love to have that experience, like you're talking about, like going out and not taking it lightly, and that's kind of the direction that we're trying to go.
Yeah, and man, and what's so cool about it too is there's levels to it.
Yeah,
and people, I've got my opinions on this, and people have this and that to say about it, but I see nothing wrong with someone introducing themselves to hunting. There are so many barriers to entry, and there are so many hills to jump over, that just getting access to an animal is is difficult for a lot of people, you know? And so if you're dealing with an animal that's, I mean, lack of a better term, we're talking about baiting in, you know, like Texas, a lot of the deer are killed over corn. Arkansas, tons of deer are killed over corn, as a way to draw them in. And even though it's not a way that is particularly resonant for me, and I'm at a stage in my hunting where it doesn't necessarily give me what I'm looking for out of the activity. Like if you went and sat in a blind over a feeder and you shot a doe, there would be nothing ignoble about that. And I would imagine you're going to have like just a rush of emotions. You're going to have like an adrenaline dump. You're going to have sadness involved in it. There's going to be trepidation. You know, you'll be a little bit scared. You'll feel proud. You'll be excited. It's all these things. And then even like whole animal butchery is different when you've like eviscerated an animal.
Yeah.
You know, like there are smells and sounds and things that squirt at you.
I mean, just doing the catfish, man, they just like, pulling all the guts out of all those cats I had a moment, you know what I mean?
I didn't even think about that. Had you done much fishing before that?
Yeah, mostly just catch and release, though.
Okay.
Just catching bass up in New Hampshire with my buddies. But that was like really the first time I've ever harvested a substantial amount of fish. And we had to dispatch those guys, and that was new.
Man, dude, that's a really great reminder for me because now truthfully, most people don't have the same. We kind of have like a mammalian bias as humans, and it's like the whole eyelash thing.
Right.
Like most people aren't that messed up about catching fish, you know, truthfully fish dying. They don't get as upset about birds.
Yeah, they're not cute.
Yeah. Well, and they're just so different than us.
Right.
People start having much stronger feelings when you start getting into animals where there's not so much of a species-specific differentiation, you know. So things that have eyelashes, things that make noises that are recognizable to us, you know, that feel warm, that have hair, like all that stuff.
Things that were once Disney characters.
Yeah, the anthropomorphizing of, deer and bear and raccoons and whatever. Or then, you know, I'm doing a lot of stuff with cooking raccoons, and I think a lot of people think of me as a person who cooks stuff that cooks things that other folks don't want to eat, you know, so like snow geese and, you know, catfish kind of have a crummy reputation for a lot of folks.
Yeah, they do.
But anyway, that's to say that, yeah, I hadn't really even thought about the fact that folks I guess I kind of forgotten that folks are going to have those kind of feels with fish as well. Mm-hmm. You know, and yeah, man, it's like, and it's gross too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, it's gross. It's also, I mean, you're taking a life.
Yeah.
Whether it's a fish or a deer, I mean, I definitely would have more of an impact if it was, you know, a four-legged creature as opposed to a catfish. But yeah, I mean, it's not something to be taken lightly, like you said, unless you're a psychopath.
Yeah, and there's a few of those people out there, but it's truthfully, it's never been anybody I've interacted with, and I'd like to keep it that way. Mm-hmm. Have you worked much at all smoking, like or doing barbecue with wild game, like lean stuff, like venison, or? Not
much, no. We've done a couple of goats. We've done, I think I cooked a leg from a deer one time, but yeah, really not much experience.
Man, well, we are loaded down with meat right now. I killed 2 deer and a good sized hog, and then my wife last night actually she took her first big game animal. She had never killed anything besides squirrels, man, and she got a 217-pound hog. So if you want, man, before we leave, I'd love to give you a haunch of venison if you'd like to.
That'd be
mess
amazing.
With that. Yeah.
Everyone on the channel's been asking me for the last year and a half, when are you gonna do some venison? When are you gonna do some venison? So I'd love to make a sausage out of it or something.
Yeah, dude, it would make a beautiful sausage. I wonder, and I don't know, we kind of talked about it before when you guys were up there fishing, but I'd love to do like kind of a half or a whole deer, kind of like hog style, but man, it's so lean. I think I wonder if you could baste it with enough of some sort of fat, like, you know, rendered tallow or butter or something, and I think you'd have to do it so much. I don't know if you'd keep the heat in. Like, I think you'd have to constantly be opening the door.
Yeah.
It'd be neat to figure out, though, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt at Elroy and Lewis, he had a deer, like I think it was a hind leg last year, that he just smoked. He cooked like the beef cheek, essentially, where he smoked it and then confit it in beef fat.
Oh, yeah. That's the way to do it, isn't it?
Tear apart, super tender. You know, if it's lean, it might be dry, but hey, it's soaking in fat, so throw a little extra fat in there, mix it all up. Yeah, he said it was great. And you can put some crazy spices in there, too, because, you know, venison's got that flavor to it where it can really take on some more herbs and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know, really, man, is like North African stuff, I think works well with it. You know, there's all those, like, Berber spices and that combination, that kind of, you know, just in my head I think about Morocco, that idea of combining that sweet and savory and like really warm Christmassy kind of spices, like allspice and clove and nutmeg and cinnamon and like this kind of dried fruits that give you those molasses notes, like raisins. Man, you could do all sorts of really cool stuff. Yeah, man, we'll hook it up.
Oh yeah, I'll take that advice and I'll make a venison sausage with that flavor profile.
Dude, it'd be great, man. It's I'll tell you what you should. It'd be cool if you just look into a Moroccan stuffed pigeon.
Okay.
So they'll and I'm not talking about squab, which is like a young bird. I'm talking about a more mature, robust flavored bird, more akin to a dove. And, you know, they'll stuff it with like rice and currants and yellow raisins and regular raisins and figs and, yeah, you get all those weird warm spices, man. Oh, dude, I'm stoked. I can't wait to see what you produce with that, man. I know it'll be awesome.
Moroccan stuffed pigeon. All right, spell all three of those words wrong. That's good.
Yeah, just give yourself a little note, man. Yeah. Well, man, I guess we have just about reached the end of our hour, and Marianne and I still have to get from Austin to Little Rock.
Are you going tonight?
Yeah, as soon as we leave here, man,
that's a drive.
Driving up.
I've done it.
Man, yeah, I don't know. Truthfully, man, we're both pretty worn out from some long days. Might try and make it to Texarkana and crash and then make the last couple hours home first thing in the morning. My dear, sweet mother came down from St. Louis to watch our little girl so she could get him off to school in the morning. But
yeah, one more night of nice sleep.
yeah, it'll go away when I get home for sure. Well, dude, seriously, man, I've so enjoyed meeting you, man, and I've so enjoyed like watching what you're producing and learning from you, and I'm stoked to see where it goes. And I'm going to keep bugging you and Evan, man. I really want to get you guys up for waterfowl season up here in Arkansas, man.
Absolutely.
Do some cool cooking. And
how long is that season?
I mean, you know, it depends on what you're talking about. Like duck season it's 60 days, but there's a couple of splits in it. You know, I focus real heavily on speckled-belly geese, and so that's like fixing a start, and that'll run all the way to the end of January. But, like, there will be waterfowl to hunt, you know, essentially Halloween to the last day of January, and then we'll even move into conservation hunt. So, I mean, like, theoretically, it's probably from about Halloween till Valentine's Day. But, I'd love to get you guys on some speckled-belly geese, man. They got great fat content. They would – like, especially the legs and thighs, they'd work great with that smoking and confit method. You can make beautiful sausage out of waterfowl. Lots of cool flavors, man. They take sage and juniper really, really well.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, stronger stuff, fennel and the like. And again, I'm a big fan of, because you're dealing with like really dark, rich meat.
Right.
And with waterfowl, just a hint. I mean, very, very akin to beef, but just like this little hint of wild to it that I really appreciate. And it takes some of those stronger flavors, so you can work in, again, some of these dried fruits and stuff. Like, I was talking to Jesse Griffiths last night about like a snow goose sausage with dried blueberries in it is excellent. Nice. Yeah, man, and you know, especially start messing with wild game, you can get in all sorts of those kind of summer sausagey things, hunter sausages. Yeah, like the sky's kind of the limit. And really with wild game, man, sausage is kind of one of the main ways to go.
Right. I mean, that's kind of another benefit of trying to get into to this side of things now. It's already knowing how having a decent background in breaking down animals and sausage making. It's just I feel like it'll make life a little bit easier to make that transition.
Oh no, man, you'll crush it, man. Like knowing whole animal butchery is gonna put you leaps and bounds ahead of folks. It really, man. I'll tell you your next big chud project, man. You're gonna start hunting deer, man. You're gonna have to get you a walk-in cooler.
Yeah, man. I was talking to Evan about that today because, like you mentioned, that Texas monthly list is coming out, and our walk-in's pretty small. I'm like, man, if you just want to put one in at my house, I mean, a little overflow.
Man, you can build them for way less than you would think. Like a big insulated box, like all the insulation you want. And are you familiar with those CoolBot things?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've actually got some plans to do something like that and just put a CoolBot. And I used to work at a restaurant where the entire walk-in, like a big walk-in, was run off a CoolBot, and it was amazingly efficient.
Really?
Oh, man, blow your mind. And it was like probably a $400 window unit, and that CoolBot probably cost $300 or $400. And,
yep.
I mean, it kept that joker beautifully cold, man.
Just take the spare room upstairs, turn it into a walk-in, have some deer hanging in there.
Dude.
I don't think anyone in my life would be surprised if I did that.
Dude, if you did that, you'd be cooler than everybody for sure.
Hell yeah, man.
And so are you going to – obviously you're going to continue with the video creation. Are you going to keep making stuff for the public as far as like some of the welding operations, or what are your plans with that?
Yeah, so right now I actually shut down new orders because I've got about 100 pits on order right now.
Wow.
And again, it's still out of my garage right now, so trying to put out all these videos, plus my work with Leroy and Lewis, and pumping out all those pits, and the orders would just keep coming in. So yeah, right now I'm trying to get caught up on the to-do list out there, and then by the time I get that caught up, I plan to open up a professional shop here in Austin where I can hire some people on and get a much more efficient system going on, and just take things a little bit more seriously, offer some, more customization and stuff like that. Hopefully a few more, you can see my whiteboard here. It's just got doodles of random new smokers I want to build. So
that's awesome.
So, yeah, right now for the next year or so, it's going to be just head down, a lot of welding, keep pumping out videos, and then hopefully this time next year I'll be able to open up with hopefully some shipping options on some pits and just be a little bit more professional about it.
Are there – I mean, you make the charcoal starter and you make the tortilla press. Is that stuff that folks in the next 6 months could get? Like if they weren't close to you, could they get that shipped, or you think – you're going to kind of hold off on that too? Yeah,
those are ones that I try. I build in batches.
Okay.
So I usually build, 20 to 50 of those at a time, and then I'll just throw them on the website, let everyone know. They usually sell out within 20, 30 minutes.
Wow.
And but that's kind of whenever I build those is like if I'm on hold, like if I know my metal shop isn't going to get me the pipe I need for 2 weeks, I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's time to knock out some chimneys and stuff like that because it's just to stay busy. But yeah, so right now I'm working with my buddy and we're trying to get all the finances figured out to renting a new spot, hiring up another person or two, and because I'd love to just start being able to have that full inventory on the website for that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Well, man, I mentioned it earlier, man, but give me a little heads up if you don't mind, man, and let me get a pre-order in on the chimney and the tortilla press, because yeah, man, I watched your video on the tortilla press and making the tortillas, and I was like, that's what I need in my life, man.
Yeah, dude, the homemade tortillas we were talking about way at the beginning of this thing, like that first homemade flour tortilla I had when I moved to Austin was life-changing, and that's what it turned into. And that fajita video I did the other day, I used that Wagyu beef fat, and that was one of the best tortillas I've ever had. It was just so fluffy. I was just like, it's hard to beat a good tortilla, man.
Dude, I'm thinking of all the possibilities, man. I'm stoked for you, man. I'm super appreciate your time, man. Glad you guys came up and went fishing, and yeah, hopefully we can get you guys up and get you after some birds this year.
Yeah, how's your January looking?
January, we could make something happen. If you guys get up there, January, we'll figure something out in January. I got to go to, I think I've got hunters leaving on like January 3rd, and then I've got to drive to Utah to go elk hunting for 7 days and then drive back because as soon as I get back, I've got more clients coming. But
yeah, we'll work something out.
We can make something happen.
We got to get back up there. We've both been itching to get up there and get some of those specs you're always talking about.
Man, yeah, dude. And you lay out there in a field, man, and have 10,000 birds on top of you, and then take them home. And then you and I feel bad too, man, because those specs that I gave you guys, like when I was eating, and I was like, oh man, because I just had them in Ziplocs. I had them vac sealed, and I was like, oh, I can taste the freezer on this a little bit. Like when they're fresh, dude, like it's like eating a bacon wrapped fillet. If you just sear the breast up beautifully, and then those legs and thighs are where they're at, man. People will fist fight you for the spec legs and thighs. But anyway, how do people get a hold of you or consume your content? Or
yeah, it's Chuds BBQ across the board. You can go to chudsbbq.com. I've got a little submission form on there if you have a specific question. Instagram is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me if you just want to, show me what you're cooking or shoot me a quick question. Other than that, I also have a Patreon page, but yeah, pretty easy to find me. Not too many Chuds barbecues in the world.
Yeah, man. Well, again, man, so glad to have met you, and thanks for letting me come over to your house and talk to you for a little while.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, bud. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Right on.
Hey, folks. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Black Duck Revival podcast. If you enjoyed it, as always, a 5-star review or subscribing on whatever platform you're listening to helps out tremendously. This podcast is produced by me, Jonathan Wilkins, and Brian Sachs, and the title music is provided by Dr. Bionic of Cincinnati, Ohio. If you're interested in finding out more about Black Duck Revival or what I'm up to, you can follow me on Instagram at Black Duck Revival or go to the website, blackduckrevival.com. We still have a few spots available for some goose and duck hunts this season, and starting in the spring, we'll be offering some more of those backwater bayou catfish excursions. So I'd love to have you down for an adventure. Again, thanks for listening. See you soon.